Hi, good night. So, this is mid-November in North Dakota, right? And I can't tell you how many times I've heard North Dakota's colder than Alaska. Right? It's like, yeah, right. It's like, well, it got cold 1 week in October. It got down to 0, and it snowed like 2 feet or something like that. But the last 3 weeks have been like, this is more like Alaska summer. So yeah, I'm trying to get used to living in the civilized world. It's a bit of a challenge. Like it's never quiet here, ever. It drives me bonkers. But at least my son's got a place where I can build a fire out in the yard and sit by a fire. Anyway, that kind of helps. So you can take the fella out of Alaska, but you can't take Alaska out of the fella, right? So anyway, 3 weeks ago, my search for someplace quiet and a little bit wild in North Dakota. We went up to the Hartley Boundary Lake primitive area on the Manitoba border and camped with my friend Corey from Minnesota. And I got back, and as I unpacked the truck, I found a bag with some gifts from Corey, right? So first one what is what this camp chair thing. And I've never taken a camp chair out with me ever, but it's a pretty clever idea. And as now I'm getting older, I'm gonna give this a go, and we'll give you a video on that later. But and there was this black hat bushcraft knife from WC Knives. Pretty nice little bugger. I haven't used it enough really to make any sort of judgment on it, but I've been using it and some, and like you see, I put a little notch in there. I can make it my own. And there's a lot of things I like about it, but I'm not sure if I would spend the money that this thing costs, right? So, hey, Corey, you sneaky bugger. You know, when I found out how much all this stuff ran that you gave me, right? It's like, you knew I had a hell of a time with taking that as a gift, right? So, yeah, that was pretty sneaky, but that was very, very generous of you, and I thank you. I'll be using this for the rest of the stuff for the rest of my lifetime, and I'll be passing it on down to my kids, right? So the third thing, and actually the subject of this video, is the Stitch Gear Outfitters knife. Now this was made for that black hat bushcraft knife. I've been using it with this little Green River that my friend Steve from Fading Margins gave me the week prior, and I just love this thing. And I had one of these when I was a kid, and identical except for not nearly as beautiful. And they're just handy as hell, and I love the V grind or flat grind or whatever you want to call it, right? So this thing is the neatest thing since sliced bread, I gotta say, right? It gives you lots of different options to ways to carry it, right? So I carried it a couple weeks, like with this down here, and this goes underneath, or actually slides right through this piece here too, right? And rides right up on your hip. Rides really well on your hip, but my shoulder's not flexible and limber as it used to be. So I moved it on up. I moved this to here, and carried it kind of gunslinger type, right? So I tied it to my leg, and it rode pretty well there, but it was a little bit too floppy. So I added a third strap, all right, and this is just an old spur strap that I had around right there. And in retrospect, I should move this down below, and it would have rode even better. But it still rides pretty dang good. I quite like it riding that way. And you can take this completely off and carry it. I guess they call it a scout carry. I can, from videos I've seen, it's a scout carry or some shit like that. It's like I was 5 years as a cavalry scout, and I never carried a knife like that while I was in the service. Nor did I see any other scouts carry it like that. But I do carry my old hickory like that. Right now, as I've gotten a little older, I'm not wearing LBEs, so I'll carry it like that, and it's easy to get to, and easy to get at. So you got multiple options of the ways to carry the bugger, which is really handy. And the whole thing is really well made, super well made. Now, these straps, I think, are a little overkill, right? So anybody from Stitch Gear Outfitters, if you listen to this, like, these things thin sliced bread, but it could be better, right? So I think these could be not nearly as heavy, and they look cool. They look really cool, but function is what I'm into, right? So 3 straps, 2. This one maybe down below that. 3 straps to give you even more versatility in the way you want to carry it. The ferro rod on there, that's slick as that's slick as can be, right? I love that. And it's sticking in there just fine, just great. And then I carried the striker. The striker itself slides up in there. Rides really good. The whole thing rides really nice, right? Quite nice, super nice. They're kind of spendy, but by golly, if you're, I think it'll last the rest of my life, and I'll pass it on down to my kids, right? So it's kind of, I think it's worth the investment, right? If you're gonna get that. So, and now the next thing too. So, I don't consider myself a survivalist or a prepper, right? All that crap I see on YouTube. It's like waiting for this shit to hit the fan or whatever. It's like, it's pretty bloody silly, right? But when I pull my britches on, from a lifetime of not knowing where I'm going to be and in the conditions I'm going to be, and I guess that makes me kind of a prepper after all, because when I pull my britches on, I've got a knife, and I got a fire, and I carry cordage. I always carry like 10 foot length of cordage in my pocket, right? Just from being in the bush, of a lifetime of being in the bush, and my days as a Calf Scout. I've got everything I need right handy, and so I also always have carried a Leatherman. This is a Leatherman signal. My son, he's a pilot in the Air Force. Right? He's flies Hueys for the Air Force right here. He was issued 2 of them, so he gave me this Leatherman signal. Right? Oh, anyway, there you go, Leatherman signal. Now, this thing's about as close to a bushcraft knife or bushcraft Leatherman as I've ever come across, right? So, and I've carried Leatherman ever since they first came out. And I carried a Wave for years and years, and the last couple of years I've worn had a surge, right? But this is pretty handy, so I always have a Leatherman. This thing slide with that little clip right there, slides right in there, like that, and it just stays there, right? So there you go. I'm ready. I'm prepared for any eventuality, right? So, and then it's like, I wear this now. This is my everyday carry for, the rest of my life. So that's pretty handy. So, yeah. Corey, I gotta thank you. I would have never ever taught them by myself. So I really appreciate your gift. That was quite nice. So, anyway, we'll catch you up later, and cheers.